This is a big week here on the Weekly Parsha podcast. Thank you for being here. And it's a big week because this is where Rabbi Yerucham gives over his famous Musar discourse about why Rachel Emeinu named the child Naftali, which means twisted and crooked. His famous Musar shmooze about obstinance and persistence in Yiddishkeit, coming up with sacred schemes to see to it that your dreams become a reality. This is also the week when we see into the future, when Yaakov dreams this prophetic dream on Har Hamoriah of angels going up and down this holy ladder that clues us into growth in Yiddishkeit. And it's also a big week for lesser reasons, but it was exciting. For on the Motivation Congregation podcast, one of the podcasts in this Motivation Congregation Weekly Parsha, Great Jewish Stories of Iconic Jewish Torah Giants podcast network, where we got to interview a brilliant person, somebody that brought new perspectives, views the world from a bird's eye view in a very cool way. So I encourage you to check out that interview on the Motivation Congregation podcast. If you are not subscribed, you can go over there. It was enlightening. It was different. And this week, I want to try to bite off one little line in another Rashi that also seems to draw a line in the sand, separate good from evil, clarify a spot that could feel we just don't have the answer to it. And hopefully with Hashem's help, we'll see it's why the Rambam was able to accomplish what he was able to accomplish, why the Chafetz Chaim was able to author the Mishneh Berurah, why so many of the Rishonim and great Achronim were able to reach their titanic Torah brilliance. And hopefully, if we remember this two-word axiom, if we can summarize it down to that, we'll have something to remind ourselves every morning when we wake up. So without further ado, Vayeitzei Yaakov mi ba'er sheva vayelech harana. Yaakov is embarking on a self-imposed galus in which he is traveling to flee from his revengeful, bloodthirsty brother. Vayifka b'makom, he bumps into a spot. He sleeps there. An epic prophetic dream. Behold a ladder. It's from the ground to all the way above. There are angels. A promise from Hashem to Yaakov about his future legacy and destiny. And then Vayashkem Yaakov ba'boiker. And Yaakov wakes up in the morning, makes a sort of monument park, and continues on his way. Now, Rashi, in picking up, like he always does, some of the nuances in the pasuk, clues us in that Vayifka is sort of in a non-expecting type of way. Kind of bumped into this spot. Not really expecting to be here or go here. And further, Rashi, a couple psukim later, points out that actually, when he arises to daven, or settles into daven, as Yaakov is now instituting the Marav Tefillah, he declares that this spot that I have davened, now slept in this spot, I shouldn't have slept here, for this is the portal to heaven. This is where all tefillos fly to in order to enter in to the holy heaven. Ki im beis Elokim, this is a spot of the house of Hashem. Is a Shara Shemaim. And Rashi, like he always does, not missing even a single nuance in a word in a pasuk, tells us that there's a terrific backstory here. But Yaakov, did bump into the place. Yes, he did daven Marav at Har Hamoriah. But first, Yaakov walked right past Har Hamoriah. Yaakov left Beersheba by Charana. He arrived in Haran. It sounds like, if we were to say in a modern expression, his flight landed, he got comfortable in his bed, he's back home, and only then did he remember, I forgot to daven Marav, so he put his shoes back on, gathered up his belongings, and made the long and arduous trek back to Har Hamoriah. And Yaakov didn't stop initially at Har Hamoriah, for he didn't set his mind upon it. He didn't make up his mind to do that. But when he arrived at Haran, he said to himself, is it possible that I didn't take a quick pit stop to daven at Har Hamoriah, the place that my father and my grandfather all davened, the makom of the Akedah? I went to Yerushalayim and I didn't daven at the Kaisel. Efshar she'avarti al makom she'espalalu ha'voisai v'lo yespalalti boy. And here comes the words that change everything. The words that gave the Jewish people a different route, a calling card during exile. It was a action that Yaakov did that made him zocha to teleportation, the ground contracting beneath him, magical and prophetic dreams, and everything that Yaakov Avinu and the Jewish people henceforth would be zeicha to. Dr. Rashi, here are the words. Yohav daite lemahader. He placed his mind to return. And this is back to Har Hamoriah. The Chazar at Beis Kel. He returned to Beis El. The Kavtzu Le'aretz, the ground contracted beneath him. But all because of this thought, this placing of his mind, this decision that Yaakov made to say, I really should go back, was he zeicha to everything. We have to understand this at a mature level. This decision, what it meant, what would be for the Jewish people in the future. This Yohev Daite. What's remarkable to point out here is the fact that without a Yohev Daite, without deciding to go back, without acknowledging Beis El, Yaakov walked right past it. And with all the strength and determination to return, Baruch Hashem, that's why we're here today. But Yohev Daite, deciding to go, undertaking the mission, initiating, committing to it, the Yohev Daite is what changed everything. Rabbi Yerucham tells us, in Yiddish we call Yohev Daite in the lashon of Unternumig, to be an undertaker. Yaakov Avinu was the original undertaker. Maybe he got it in a Messiah or Yerusha from his grandfather. Undertaking. Rabbi Yerucham points out that every gadol, before anything's accomplished, decides to accomplish. You don't by happenstance or just chance upon becoming the father of the holiest nation and prophetic dreams. But you must be a Yohev Daite. And how is it possible? There's kama v'kama stumbling blocks, mikshaylim, that we all face daily. And I want to ask a very point-blank question. If you travel through all of the folios of the Talmud Bavli, there are a couple tough Gemaras, a lot of tough Gemaras. Hard to understand, wrap our minds around. But one of the most incomprehensible, seemingly incomprehensible Gemaras you'll find in Masechta Sukkah that tells us that Abaye concluded after an interesting episode that Kol Agadol Mechavero Yitzar Gadol Haimenu. That any fellow who's greater than his friend, and it's talking about Torah, Yerushalayim, the bigger Gadol that you are, the greater the Vayeitzei that you have. And it's very hard to understand. Is it possible Hayitachin, or if Shmuel Kamenetsky has a bigger Vayeitzei than I do? Doesn't seem to add up. The Gemara needs pshat. But we're not going to journey to answer this question today. I would like to use it for fuel to the fire. How's it possible that all these great people accomplished what they did? If the greater the person is, the larger the mechsholim, the larger the stumbling blocks, and the larger the Vayeitzei the person has, then how's it possible that the Rambam accomplished what he did, the Chafetz Chaim accomplished what he did? How's it possible that Yaakov Avinu accomplished what he did? Could you imagine the Vayeitzei, the nisyonos, the problems that every single second incessant mechsholim, and arduous tasks that must be taken care of just to reach the places that they got? How? It begins with a Yoav Daite. He proves it in one of the most epic midrashim you will ever come across. It happens when Yitzchak is going along with his father Avram for the Akedah, and the Satan comes to Avram Avinu. You'll find this in Yalkut Shimoni. I apologize, it's Medrash Tanchuma. The Satan comes in Kidmus Zakin. Yeah, exactly how the Gemara tells us, that the greater the person is, the bigger the Vayeitzei. The Vayeitzei here has taken a real physical form. He is appearing to him like an old Dumbledore-style character, a long white beard, saying, "Where are you going? You, your son? You're going to Shecht? Yitzchak? Amar Loi? No. Lehispala. We're just going to pray." Where are you going to pray? Because it seems odd, because there's a knife there and you have some wood. You sure? Back and forth, fighting. Get out of my way. I'm going to do this. Why are you bringing your knife? Eventually, the Vayeitzei sees that no one's going to listen to him here. But he's not done. The Vayeitzei comes back. And he shows himself in front of Yitzchak, because he realized that Avram, it was no shot to dissuade him from going, and tells Yitzchak, where are you going? And to Yitzchak this time, he appears to him as a young bacher, a pleasant fellow, a friend. "Hey, bud, what's up? You going with your dad?" Yitzchak says, "I'm going to learn Torah." This is in Chaf Beis in Medrash Tanchuma. You're going to live or you're going to die? How are you going to learn? You can't learn if you're dead. And your dad's got a knife there. You're walking up a mountain. What are you talking about? No one learns after they're dead. Of course, we're alive and we're going to learn Torah up there. Vayeitzei fights back. Your dad's gone rogue. Your dad needs to go to a mental asylum. He's going to shecht you. Listen to Yitzchak. Listen to the response. Amar, Yitzchak said to him, to this Vayeitzei masquerading himself as an innocent little bacher, Af al pikein. Even still, let it be. Even so, whatever you say, lo e'ev or al das yoitzri, I will not go against the will of my father. I'm sorry, the will of the Creator, v'al tzivay avi, or the will of my father. This is what Hashem wants. This is what my father wants. That's it. Eventually, Vayeitzei resorted to turning himself into a river. On it goes until they just would not be stopped. Proof that the Vayeitzei is actually, yes, in a very real way, remarkably and astonishingly powerful against the great ones. But afal pikein, alman asking, it doesn't matter. They would not be stopped. Says Rabbi Yerucham. Because Avram Avinu and Yitzchak Avinu, they were Yoav Daite. They understood this is what needs to be done. They decided to do it. There's a lot of Kabbalah here. You see, there are individuals that they make up in their mind, I'm manifesting a multi-million-dollar company. They just decide it, and they do it. There are people that decide. They just wake up, and they're done with whatever it is that they're involved in, and they throw that harmful practice away because they decided to. The decision is where success lies. The yohivdaite, the undertaking, initiator, deciding and committing to do something makes you unbreakable, unbeatable. The Vayeitzei Har was coming and literally showing himself in all these different ways. Almanaskin, it doesn't matter. I've decided to do it. And when you decide to do it, you get it done. This is how the Gedolim, they became so big. I want to read you the introduction, a piece of the introduction from the Sefer Har Rambam. Now picture this, folks. The Gemara has been written. It's over 60 books, back and forth, where a person can get into the svaras of how to learn, how to think, really by the splitting hairs approach of the Gemara. It trains a person to view the world and ask questions in the way Chazal did. The entire Torah is baked into the Gemara, but it's a whole lot of information, and it takes a real great deal of time and effort to amass that knowledge of the Gemara. So the Rambam set out to summarize it all, sprinkle in a little bit of all of the rest of the Torah, including the Midrashim, the Mishnayos, the Toseftos, the Kabbalah, and summarize it down in a clean and easy way for any single person to learn all of Torah She'Ba'al Peh. Quite the undertaking. And in the introduction to Rambam's Yad HaChazaka, to where these 14 books will have everything that you need to know about Torah She'Ba'al Peh, listen to how he introduces this great tour de force and the magnum opus of his. Umipnei zeh, and because of this, coming off of what he wrote before, Na'arti, Chetzani, Ani Moshe, I am Moses, ben Maimon, son of Maimon, Hasafardi, from Spain, Vinishanti Alatsur, I don't know what that means, Baruch Hu. Vayeitzei b'chol elu hasafardim, I grew up here, this is where I'm from. V'ra'isi lechaber devarim hamizbarim, I have seen fit to author a work that will clarify mikol elu achiburim, all of these writings, ha'asr v'ha'mutter, I'm going to give you all the asr, all the mutter, v'hatame, v'hatar, im shar dinei Torah, all of the dinei Torah, kulam b'lashon berurah, I'm going to do it all in a very clear way, v'derech katzara, and I'm going to summarize it and do it in a very short way, ad, until, shetehei, Torah She'Ba'al Peh, until the entire Torah She'Ba'al Peh, all of it, given to Moshe Rabbeinu at Har Sinai, kula sadura befik hakol, it will be fluent in the mouths of everyone, b'lai kushya, without even the slightest struggle, v'lai piruk, and no troubles, v'lo zeh oimer b'chol v'zeh oimer b'kah. I misread that, but this person won't say like this person won't say like this. No more argument. El devarim berurim keroivim nechayim al pi hamishpat. Everything close to judgment, very easy. Asher yisbar mikol elu achiburim v'apirushim v'nimsorim miyamos Rabbeinu HaKadosh v'ad achshav. Everything summarized from the days of Rabbeinu HaKadosh until now. Could you imagine writing that? Talk about an undertaking. Here I am, Hineni, I'm Moshe Rabbeinu, and I'm ready to do this. Here I am, I'm Avraham Avinu, and I'm ready to do this. Here I am, I'm Rabbeinu HaKadosh, and I'm about to write the Mishnayos. Here I am, I'm Moshe ben Maimon, I'm from Sephard, and I am now going to put all of Torah She'Ba'al Peh on a couple pages, and the Rambam concludes, and it should be Klalo Shel Dover, the point of my Yad HaChazaka is Kedei Shelo Yeh Adam Tzarich Lechibur Achar Ba'olam B'Din B'Dinei Yisrael El Yuchibur Zeh Mikabit LeTorah She'Ba'al Peh Kulo Min HaTakonos VaMinhagos HaGezer Shenasam Yamos Moshe Rabbeinu. Everything, all you single need, there's only one sefer for all of it. Just my Sefarim. Talk about an undertaking. The Rambam decided to do it. And so he did. He set out to do. He initiated it. And so he did. You can only imagine the mechshalim that he went through. The persecution. The troubles. Inhumane troubles. But he decided to do it. So he did it. And the Chafetz Chaim, I bet you think that he lived a very simple, peaceful, humble, and easy life. Well, right as he set out to go and author one of the world's greatest halachic works, summarizing all of the different halachic sources. Because in Har Chaim, which we need to know the laws of daily living, there are so many different approaches from the Chayei Adam to the Kitzer Shulchan Aruch, to the Shulchan Aruch HaRav, the Torah, the Beis Yosef, the Ramah, the Darchei Moshe, the Prisha, the Drisha, the Shach, the Taz. What are we to do? Well, here I am. I am Rabbi Yisrael Meir Cohen Kagan, and I present to you the Mishneh Berurah, all of the teachings of halacha, and clearly elucidated, annotated, and delivered to you on a single platter. This is halacha. Here you go. And you can buy it for $19.99. Yeah, that's an undertaking. And you know what happened? A tremendous nisayon happened. Rabbi Yochanan mentions it in regards to Naftali talk that he talks about a little bit later. He went through one of the worst possible traumas and disasters, tragedies known to mankind. He lost a family member, one that was so beloved, one that was supposed to be the future, one that was going to be his legacy, to be everything. I think his name was Reb Tzvi Hirsch Levinson. He was everything, and you've never heard his name because he died on the day, at the time that the Mishneh Berurah was set to begin. Pen in hand, here we go. Boom, the news comes in the Vayeitzei. But the Chofetz Chaim stood up and said, this ain't going to stop me. Was his life in shambles? Was his head fully there? I don't know. But the Chofetz Chaim said, Al minas kain, af al pi kain. I don't care. I move forward. I'm going to write the Mishneh Berurah. This is the Vayeitzei. Lo avar al das yoitzi al das avi. And so he determined, he set out, he initiated, he decided to write the Mishneh Berurah. And we have the Mishneh Berurah. It takes a decision. It takes a real level of azos, of determination, of stolz. But not, God forbid, a misplaced bashfulness, shying away from it, or folding like a cheap lawn chair. And I want to say something that is, I think, a chiddush, but really, Reb Nosson Tzvi Finkel said it in one context. I heard it from a great speaker saying this line in a different way, in a different context. But this Yohev Daite, this deciding to do great things, and not just doing them, and just, one day I'll get there, day by day, piece by piece, but instead actually saying, here I am, hineni, I'm ready to do it, boom, I've decided to do it, and now I've undertaken it, and now I'm initiating it, and now that I've committed to it, boom, when the struggles come, it doesn't knock you out, and you continue to do it. It's not only the sign that we can look to in great people, it's not the siman of sorts, but it seems it's really the siba, the cause for the great things. These people had no lack of distractions, but they kept taking more on their plates. They kept taking these huge achrayus and these massive responsibilities. But the secret to life is often told by Reb Nosson Tzvi Finkel, often told by all these great people, that when you commit to something, that's how you get the strength to do it. Mit the achrayus, kommt the koiches, I believe was the zog. With the acceptance of the responsibility, then does God grant the opportunity and the strength to fulfill the opportunity. But sometimes we think, well, I can only take a responsibility that I can really have the potential, have the kochos to do, but it's backwards. You take the responsibility, and then you get the potential and the kochos to do it. Perhaps the here I am, I'm Moshe ben Maimon, and I'm going to do it is what was the siba for the Rambam. Perhaps here I am, the Chofetz Chaim, to write this Mishneh Berurah and Alman Askin, and I'm going to do it could have been some part of the siba for the Chofetz Chaim. To be an unternumig, to be a yoev daite. When Yaakov Avinu turned around and said, I'm walking back to Beis El, he undertook to become one of the avos, part of that trifecta. And all of the hardships that befell him, zicher, for sure, came about because of that decision. I wonder if this played a role in Mordecai's logic when he told Esther. When Esther was unsure if she's going to walk in to see Achashverosh and plead on behalf of her people, that Achashverosh said, Esther, why are you tarrying? Mi yodeim le'es kazois yogat l'malchus. Who knows? Maybe this is why you have been chosen to be the queen. It's not you, it'll be somebody else. But now that you're here, undertake to do it. And when you undertake to do something, you decide to do it, crazy things happen. An azus, a brazenness, a beli gevul type of azus, a kablonus, an accepting upon yourself, undertaking to do it. Decide. Instead of going back and forth. But here I am, Moshe ben Maimon, to write the Yad HaChazaka. Here I am, Michal Brook, ready to learn a lot of Torah and become a big Talmud Chacham and try to fear Hashem and be nice to everybody. But decide to do it. That's why it was Vayifka. He bumped into the place. Because he passed it without deciding to get there, did Yaakov Avinu. But then when he said, is it possible that I've made a mistake, that I should just walk right past the place that my grandfather and father davened? So Yoav Daite L'Mahader, he decided to return. Be an undertaker. And in the spot that you're in, who knows if that's the spot that Hashem has put you for this great opportunity. And know that that opportunity isn't just going to hang around forever. Decide to be great. Decide to take the next step. Decide to forsake that bad behavior. Decide, and not in a weak way, but in a cast iron, unbreakable, tenacious desire to accomplish great things. Yoav Daite. Decide to recalculate and decide to be great. Like Yaakov Avinu, like the Rambam, like the Chofetz Chaim, like Esther Amalka, and like really anybody that has accomplished anything significant.
Kilam kedoshim, kilam ma'ivim, kilam bererim, kilam geborim, kilam do yeshim.